This is Vinyl Voices Radio. ESPN 97.5.
Ladies and gentlemen,
I'm John Denman.
Dusty Sandejas.
All right, we're back. This is Vinyl Voices Radio here on ESPN. He's Justin Dejas. I am John Denman. They are Forever Miles.
AJ, Andy.
Frank's Pizza.
Frank's
Spilled
Pizza.
out.
Fill that beer. Adley Law Firm.
Adley Law Firm. No,
Adley Law Firm. You need someone, they're there.
They're there for you. Give you directions.
I don't go anywhere without Adley.
These guys.
That's
Find a rat's tooth in your Wendy's burger, Adley's there.
That's right.
There's a lot of things I can say right now. I almost threw Frank's under the bus. I'm like, don't do that.
Not Frank's. No.
Don't eat the second
No,
box.
don't.
you dare talk about Frank's.
Yeah, it's like show's over. We don't talk about
I
Frank's.
can't do this. Oh, man.
All right, so we've been having a lot of conversations.
Yeah.
You know, of course, most of the conversations happen when the cameras aren't on. You know, we're not actually filming anything.
And I don't have anything to say anymore.
Yeah, no, it was great talking to you, and we learned a lot tonight. But yeah, we're talking about genres, and so that's kind of where, when I was listening to the album, it was where does that fit, you know? And so you have different artists over time that is like, okay, where do they really fit in? I mean, even going back to like Led Zeppelin, even like what were they when they came out? You know, ZZ Top was I mean, maybe they were bluesier than they were rock, and moving all the way up to.
Do you say ZZ Top?
Yeah.
You got Pearl Necklace after that. It's just like, where's
Yeah,
that
and then
going?
you get
Where's
that.
that going? All of that.
It was like that came out of nowhere.
That's kind of how we were feeling. We know where it came from.
Well, I
It's
know
just like,
where
where
it
did that come from? Yeah.
Wrote that song. I wrote that song in 5 minutes.
We played it once, and that was when we recorded. And it was a
And
hit.
she's like, it wasn't 5 minutes. It was more like
2.5. Okay.
Oh, man.
But I digress.
Oh, Billy. Oh, Billy. Dusty. But that's the thing, though. I mean, I don't know where to put it. And that's kind of been the weird thing is it feels like you have to put it in something instead of, you know, when we wrote it, we didn't have any thought about that. It was just four people that melded together and made songwriting easy. And we wrote Sundancing as the first song, and it came together, and it was like, okay, like we did this together. You know, the next time AJ had more solidified lyrics, and that was about it. I'm a horrible lyrics. It takes months for there's so many shows where I'm just mumbling words and we're figuring it out on stage, and I'm just like, we have in-ears too, so everybody can fucking hear me. And
just mumbling back your McDonald's order.
Everyone's just like, what the
Big Mac.
What the heck is he saying, man?
Mac
I'm
sauce.
and I'm just trying to get it together, but usually right before we record it, I will write the lyrics a week before we record it. And it's all over the place. But like
It's a good push though.
But all the songs start out different, and then they kind of mold themselves, and we try them on stage for a long time, and it completely goes to another genre sometimes. Sometimes it's harder. There's a song called F-Bomb on here, which was kind of just a kind of jazzy indie track that ended up being one of the hardest songs live, like rock and roll wise. Now we're playing it like it's our last day on earth. Full guitars, full bass, full trumpet, and it was not written that way whatsoever. And
well, we'll talk about that song too, because
things take different form.
Yeah, and when I listened to that song, I was like, oh, this one live could really go off.
Yeah, and that's kind of, you know, how do we put something in a genre where, you know, it was just like, it's just
don't do
music.
It, right? Yeah, it's just music.
We don't want to classify it as anything, and it was more of like, well, you know, we have played rock music. We are in an alternative group, I guess. But I mean, since we've had
Alternative
this
is a code name for what the fuck am I listening to?
Yeah, pretty much.
What is
that
this?
genre is
Somewhere.
It's like the most wrecked of any genre, I believe, is alternative.
Yeah.
I mean, it's all over the place.
Yeah. So it's kind of a weird thing. Like even when we do this, like you're just like, what genre? And it's like, well, I mean, it's music. Like,
Yeah.
did you vibe to it? We're just, you know, we wrote it and it was
Yeah.
a vibe, and that
But,
was
I
more
mean,
of like just
If you go, I guess there is some, classification for if you went to like a visual art space museum and there's, okay, we're going to have like a romanticism over here or some, other, but it's all just art. Like what, to the untrained eye, I guess it's like I'm just seeing something that looks cool and I dig it, And if we could just pare music down that way, but of course now we have, and even with the algorithms and everything that we have today, the distro you're talking about, where, what they will allow.
You have
or
to
what
sell
they won't.
yourself.
Right.
Yeah.
But even back
Something.
in the day, it was that way because, if an album went out before streaming, they had to know where to put it in the record store. When the record store was a record store, that's where people bought music before they bought it online, and so
Yeah,
there had to be a place for it.
it wasn't just in alphabetical order like
No.
it is now.
I just heard. Do y'all follow Rick Beato on YouTube?
I don't.
You should, because he's the only person interviewing all of the legends as they're getting older, and he just interviewed Andy Summers from the Police, and he allowed Andy Summers to tell his entire story when he was growing up, playing music with Eric Clapton, and being one of the first people to meet Jimi Hendrix off the plane in the UK, and he was telling the story about Roxanne, that they recorded it in someone's home studio, and flew over to CBGB. That's where they got their break in the States, and they recorded Roxanne and brought it over, and it took them 3 different times to put out that single because they couldn't classify it. They were in the middle of being punk and not being punk enough and
Right.
being poppy. And I find I kind of resonated with that when I heard the interview 2 days ago, and they were having issues with, I think, Sony or MGM. What's that big label in the 80s? Anyway, they were trying to sell them because they had this 1-song deal on Roxanne. They didn't want to give them the full album because they wanted to test out Roxanne, and it failed twice before they started opening up for a puppet show in the UK
What?
or in the States. I forget which one it was. It was like a
It sounds
comedic.
more like UK.
Yeah, it's a very, it was
Yeah,
a
the
comedy band, and they started playing all of their songs, and that's how they revisited Roxanne, and it ended up being a #1 hit. It went straight to #1 within the first week,
That's wild.
and just shows like if the song is good, then it's good, but
Right.
sometimes it doesn't grab, and people can't classify it when they listen to it or try to put it out, and I think there's a lot of like similarities in writing a single like that, Sundancing, and kind of how they put Roxanne out. And that was just a funny story that I heard this week, and
Yeah.
it kind of just like I was like, oh shit, like that. It happens to the best of everybody, you know.
It's
Even
so
the big
fun,
bands.
I mean, we're listening and we're talking about music and where it comes from and everything, and I'm like, let's listen to some music. So, can we?
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
We do need to listen to a song.
Yeah.
So I just like the segue. I kind of missed it like a couple of minutes ago. We were talking about McDonald's, but McDonald's has a good breakfast. They do have good breakfast.
I
so-
just had a McGriddle for the first time this
what
year.
the first time.
Yes, and I was just like, I could eat 6 of these. I was like, I need to stop.
So here's
Well,
breakfast.
Here's breakfast.
All I know is that if you have the McDonald's app, it's $1 breakfast sandwich every single day.
song.
Every single day you get $1 breakfast
Stop
sandwich.
what you're doing.
Jason's
Let's
back
listen to
there
some
like,
breakfast.
why?
Sponsored by McDonald's. Hurry up, guys. We need you.
myself to think that you'd stay away from me down in my head. I go up and down, side to side, as I bring you down with me down in my head. Take the time to realize that you're dead. Take the knife, turn it twice, then you're dead. Well, I don't feel the same inside my head. All my friends are dead, yeah, yeah. I don't feel the same inside my head. All my friends are dead, yeah, I'm having trouble waking up and problems falling asleep, laying my head. Memories that fade too fast that still bother me, they spin in my head. Take the time to realize that you're dead. Take the knife, turn it twice, and you're dead. I don't feel the same inside my head. All my friends are dead, yeah, yeah. I don't feel the same inside my head. All my friends are dead, yeah,
All right, so that was Breakfast,
Yeah, breakfast.
Yeah.
Yeah.
which. Oh, go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
No, I was saying. I mean, it just. I mean, that's a good way to start your day.
It is the opposite of what everybody thinks. I wrote that during COVID. The music was there before COVID. Before Sergio joined the band, we had been practicing it for a while, and we recorded it during COVID, and that's when I wrote the lyrics. But breakfast is kind of like the first meal of the day. and it's about being depressed and not trying to give in to your mind telling you that things would be better without you on the earth. And it is just battling your depression, and it's like breakfast. It's like, oh man, I just don't want to get through the day. And it's like your first meal of confirmation that you are good enough, you're going through the motions, and you are allowed to be on this earth. And that's why the main lyrics is, I don't feel the same inside my head, all my friends are dead. It's everything around you is kind of crumbling, and that kind of goes hand in hand with during COVID and when we recorded it. And yeah, because a lot of people will be like, that's such a great song, man. Is it just talking about, you know, your friends are dead, like you're just moving on to better things? And I'm like, no, it's kind of about
still right there in the middle of it.
you not wanting to fucking live anymore, but it's all good. I love the song. We play it every show, and it goes the hardest.
Well, there's something about a song that is, you know, just like amps people up, but you're like, oh, those are some really depressing lyrics, or the vice versa. It brings, like, it's like the slow, dreary song, but you're like, that's some enlightening lyrics.
Yeah.
The way that we play it makes the lyrics sound better. You know, like it turns the meaning around, you know?
Well, I mean,
It's like, oh shit, this is kind of fucked up, but we're turning this really crappy thing and everyone's going through this one thing. It ended up turning into a COVID thing, and we're siphoning it through the music, and it's coming out the other end with a better message almost.
Right.
And it makes everybody, it's like one of those songs live where everybody just gets to just release
yeah.
and act like a fool for 3.5 minutes.
Yeah,
you
it
know?
goes really hard live.
Well, that's what you know, when you're sitting there and you're jamming it, you're live. Everybody in the crowd, they're like jumping up and down, going, "Oh, my friends are dead."
Yeah, it's like-
and you're like,
Yeah, it's like no, they're not.
They're not.
They're there in
No.
front of you, and it's just
the
like
point.
kind
Yeah.
of like it's a reverse osmosis thing. Like it kind of you get something different out of whatever came in, and it's one of my favorite songs.
Yeah, it really has that. We're just mentioning. I was, you know, saying it's got like to me that kind of like Panic at the Disco, Killers, you know, Hives, that sort of
Feels
late
open.
2000s, you know, that where you just want to like, yeah, you know, move and. But it's so
Move
weird.
away to a different country and start over.
No, but just
Buying a boat.
but it's just interesting to me just because we talked about how that first song felt a lot different, you know, just these vast influences. Like, what's the first music that you guys really remember attaching to as brothers? Because,
man,
Together,
yeah,
I would say
that's a hard one.
our family's really, really big Beatles fanatics, but
Beatles
We'll just
probably
skip-
number one.
number one, it will always be Beatles.
That
But
was-
I would say like
As you guys got older,
Like
Incubus?
modern. Incubus was
yes.
He bought a CD player for his room when he was like 12 or something.
Yeah.
And he sold like popsicles and stuff to save up money for like a bike.
at our apartment.
And yeah, he would sell to the kids
20 cents.
popsicles and like pickles. And he had like a business, and he bought a CD player, and he would buy CDs. So our dad had like the classic CDs, and then as we were growing up, as he was getting into like teenage years, he was getting into Incubus, like Panic at the Disco, like these newer bands coming out. So I kind of got like both like sides of it, where I loved the Beatles. Our dad was a huge U2 fan.
Yeah, you.
So we
I
had.
know everybody hates on them, but I fucking love you too.
Yeah, we both.
hey, they
love
have
U2.
like 4 or 5 of the best songs ever made.
Nobody wanted that album on their fucking iPhone and iPod. Okay, let's just get
I
that out of
didn't
the
either,
way.
but I still love them. But they also had like a great album called Pop that was such an innuendo into different kinds of music because it wasn't their style and people didn't like it.
It
And
got hated on.
It got hated on.
That's our
a lot.
favorite album. It's so good. And
Yeah, but
it's-
that was kind of the thing back then, though, right? And I think that mindset's changed now because you have so many different styles of like bands that are just like all over the place. Like this song might
Genre
sound
bending.
just very
Incubus
genre
is one of those bands, and
They were a funk band.
Yeah.
they were like emulating
also-
Korn and Red Hot Chili Peppers, and then every single album after that is so miles away from the one they did
Yeah,
before.
they were
Correct,
touring with
yeah.
System of a Down, and that's like
That's crazy, right?
That's not.
who they are now. It all
Yeah,
blows over.
I mean, it's kind of is.
But to be able to do
it's-
that and
yeah.
sustain that energy, right? Like, and build your following along the way on top of being successful.
Yeah, that
Is like that seems like a dream for a majority of artists because
That was, I think, one of the bigger things that we inherently didn't notice at first that we loved about bands. I think what we enjoyed most about bands like that was that without really noticing what we liked about the bands other than the music.
Another band would be Stone Temple Pilots too, because
Stone
they get a
Temple
bad
Pilots.
rap for being like part of that grunge rock. But I mean, the first 2 albums are great, but like after that, everyone kind of forgets about them. And the last 3 of their discography, the middle part,
4,
number 4, Shangri-La Di Da,
Shangri-La,
and I would say Tiny Music.
Tiny Music.
Are all such underrated, amazing, genre-bending albums.
Also
because-
a brother duo,
Yeah, no,
Bass
also
player,
another
guitar player.
brother duo.
Dean and Robert DeLeo.
Yeah, and those albums, everyone would sing out Plush really out. To find it, to find it. But those other albums after that are completely different in they're jazzy, they're 70s pop, they're hard fucking rock, and everyone always just pays attention to the first 2 albums, and that would be something that inspired us, almost like Incubus. Both mainstream bands, but everyone just kind of stops listening at a certain point. And then there's these other column of albums that are just mind-blowingly just different and in the best way, but still keeping the rock roots. And I think that's what we translate into that of creating songs that are different than the last one they
Yeah.
heard.
Yeah.
yeah. All right, let's take a break, and when we get back, we'll talk more. This is Vinyl Voices Radio.
This is Vinyl Voices, brought to you by Adley Law Firm, Houston's personal injury attorneys for 30 years.